Donovan, what are your initial impressions of Indy?
Fast, pace, very talented team, well coached, obviously led by Tyrese, Pascal. They got a bigs that can shoot. Got wings. They got Nembhard, who's really and McConnell, who are pests defensively. So they're a talented team, man. And this is a series we're going to be, got to be ready to go from the jump. They're battle tested. They've been to the conference finals. I know some of their guys were hurt and whatnot, but it's a battle tested team. As you saw, in Game 4, especially being down 20, really withstanding that whole run and then coming back and winning. So we got to be prepared and got to be ready to go.
Last couple of days, been like you've been able to separate from the Miami series, move on to the next round.
Yeah, I mean, once the game was over, really just taking time to just be, obviously trying to figure out who we're playing, but like I said during the week off, like really allowing yourself to detach and then reattach. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that's huge because, if you're trying to do this for the long haul, it's a lot on the mental, it's a lot of physically. So the day after, or was that yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Today, obviously going through some scouts, but really, looking at the scout report, also allowing yourself to kind of have that mental break, which we've awarded ourselves by sweeping the series.
You mentioned why do you think the defense got better as you went along in those series?
I think as you go through a series, you learn more and more about tendencies. You see them. Obviously, you can scout for them all you want, but after a while, you start to notice, okay, this is what they like, the positioning, different things, and I think that was kind of our biggest thing. So naturally, over a series, and even if this series had went to 7, like you saw last year, the same way you played in Game 1 was not the same way you played in Game 7, because at that point you know everything they're running, you know where they want to go. As the series progressed, naturally you're going to be better, just because you've seen the same team 3 times. Say again?
Like the rebounding and that stuff, the inside stuff, really what more needed the rest of the series went along.
Yeah, I think making it a point, especially how we Game 2, and I said this after Game 2. I was kind of happy we won in that fashion, giving up that lead, kind of having that struggle, having to really gut it out, because when you get to Miami, Games 3 and 4, understand that it's going to take that level of aggression every single possession, and we took care of business Game 3 and 4.
You mentioned them being battle tested. There's a bunch of them that have more playoff experience than a lot of your guys. Like, you obviously have some, Tristan, Max, but beyond that, it's a lot in favor of Indiana. How do you make up for that gap?
Continue to do what we do. I think at the end of the day, we still got to roll the ball out. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, guys have been farther in the playoffs and whatnot, but just continue to capitalize, do what we same mentality we had in Miami. Take care of home court, take care of business on the road, rebound, extra possessions, get back in transition. You stick to what you do and do it better for 48 minutes, win the game.
You said fast. First thing about that team. How much does pace matter in the playoffs when the game typically slows down across the
That's been their advantage. You look at, especially this year and then last year, how they made the conference finals, just continuing to push. And they got a lot of guys and they got a lot of depth, which I think is what makes it possible. If they're playing 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, you're not able to run at that pace over and over again. So you got to respect everybody that's coming in. You got to make it tough on them. Understand that we got to win the rebound game, got to win the possession game, but got to get back in transition.
Before the series against Miami, you talked about the preparation. I know you didn't know you were playing the Heat until much closer to Game 1 than this series. But a lot of the preparation talk was being about you guys versus being about another team. Yeah. How similar is that to right now?
That's what I meant when I say you take, kind of these 2 days, today and yesterday, to kind of take them to obviously know who we're playing, get the schemes, but kind of do what we do. Understanding that we got to be our best selves, as well as trying to stop them, and I think that's obviously important. So I think for us, using these 2 days, and then tomorrow, what day is it today? Thursday? Thank you. Tomorrow and Saturday, taking it up another level, be ready to go. Sorry.
Donovan, just thinking about the last 2 games in Miami, the way you guys were able to build these big leads, you didn't take your feet off the gas, so to speak. How much of a learning experience is that going forward in the postseason to take advantage in those kind of moments?
Yeah, it's huge. It shows that we have taken a step in that maturity that we continually want to be. And I'm not going to say we sat here and we figured it out. We got to continue to do it against Indiana, and then next round. So for us, like I said, winning the way we did in Game 2, I think really set the table for Games 3 and 4. Game 3 and then coming in Game 4 the way we did was really impressive from a mindset standpoint for our group, and something I think we can carry over into this series.
Did you happen to watch
Say again? Yeah. Man, big time. You know, especially coming into this series, they're obviously going to try to make the ball pressure tough, and he's a guy that can create a shot in his own. That's really what the playoffs are about, guys who can get in the paint, you know, obviously win their matchup, get in the paint, and make plays. And he's a guy that's, you know, done that for us all season, especially in the clutch. Obviously, he's been phenomenal. It's great that we took care of business in 3 and 4. So now he get some rest, and he'll be back. I mean, ideally he'll be back on Sunday.
Tom, did you happen to watch Game 5?
Yeah.
I mean, it was wild, obviously. Great. What are some of your impressions of what happened?
You got to give Indiana credit for capitalizing on mistakes. You know, just because Milwaukee made mistakes does not necessarily mean that it's going to automatically go Indiana's way. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they still got to score the ball, still got to run action. So I think Nembhard's walk up 3, you got to hit that shot. You know what I mean? Tyrese has to win his matchup getting into the paint. Great defense on Giannis taking the fadeaway in the corner. Like, yeah, obviously Gary Trent turned the ball over, but that's credit to the defense, you know, and obviously it's whatever. So understanding that if we have a lead, if we're up, no lead is safe in the NBA, as we all say, and we got to be strong with the ball, we got to be strong mentally in order to beat these guys.
That last series got pretty chippy, a lot of chatting between both of those teams. How do you guys prepare for what that may bring for you guys in the series?
Just do what we do. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's a respect on both sides of what both teams can do. So for us, take care of business, you know, execute the game plan and go from there.
The Bucks players voted Tyrese the most overrated player in the league. I mean, what are they missing?
I didn't vote, so I mean, I don't. I mean, like you look, he's there. Look at them. They made the conference finals. He's a talented player. Since the All-Star break, he's been averaging like 20 and 12. Like, you know, before the break, I don't think anybody would have thought they'd be in this position. So you look at when he's back at full strength, look what he's the head of the snake. You know, there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of respect for him and what he brings over there. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, people want to say that, they want to say that. But, you know, we don't look at it that way. We understand how important he is to that group. He's a threat, and we got to make sure we try to find ways to neutralize one of the biggest threats on their team.
Jump shot? Is it because he's more of a true point guard and not like a 30-point a game guy? Why do you think people miss his impact?
I have no idea.
You've been open when talking about your career about wanting to make a deeper playoff run. You talked about round 2. How much is that driving you?
I mean, yeah. That's why I wake up every day. That's why I work so hard. You know, this is not my first time in the second round. It's not my first time being the 1 seed. So understanding that these opportunities, I'm fortunate enough to have a second crack at it. So for me, and obviously for the group, it's not just myself, but, you know, for the group, just continuing to, you know, want to take that next step. That's why we play this game. We don't play to, you know, have a 64-win season and be happy. We play to win the championship. That's the goal, and, you know, that's really what's fueling me.
Donovan, a lot of this series, or a lot of this season has been about punching first or being able to handle a punch given to you. I guess an Indiana team that is so fast, is so capable of doing what they do, how important is it for you guys to land that first punch and not be reactive?
Yeah, it's crucial. Understanding that, you know, when we do that, and either it goes both ways, and I've said this to guys in the huddle, like, up 20, down 20, up 10, down 10. Just continue to have the same, you know, calmness about yourself. You know, understand that, you know, yeah, we want to hit first. We may not hit first. We may be down 10-0. How do you respond to that? We may be up 20-0. Like, how do you respond to that? So understand, yeah, we want to come out and set the tone early, but also understand that regardless if we're up, down, whatever, we have to continue to still be here, even keel throughout, because they're a team that can run off points fast in a hurry, and understanding, like you saw it in Game 5. Like, you know, no lead is safe, and we got to continue what we build up what we did in Games 3 and 4, where we set the tone and play like that for 48 minutes.
You mentioned Donovan number 1 seed before, and how that has impacted your mindset. What has been your vocal point, your message to this team as a number 1 seed, and how you want to be different from the number 1 seed you are before?
Desperate. I mean, I'm not to say my teams weren't desperate before. I think the biggest message I've been preaching is that level of desperation. I think Games 3 and 4, you saw that. Obviously, Games 1 and 2 were huge, but Games 3 and 4, you really saw us build off of what we did at home. You know, we weren't doing that in years past. We only won one home road game since I've been here. Obviously, we're actually on the opposite end in Orlando. You know what I'm saying? So just a level of desperation, and it's not just what I've been preaching. I think guys feel it. I think Ev, DG, J.A., Ty, Dre, Max, we all, you know, there's a level of desperation amongst this group. And it's not every season going to be a sweep. You know, understand that, you know, that we maybe get hit in the mouth, but continuing to, you know, use that as fuel and continue to, you know, work to be the best.
You've been
This
on
is
a
the
lot.
last question.
You've been on a lot of good teams, obviously, the regular season, number one seed, second time. Is there anything about this team that maybe makes you feel that it's more realistic to go deeper in the playoffs?
Evan Mobley is a huge piece of that. I've been saying that all year. Obviously, man, like Ty, Jerome, DeAndre, our bench, Sam Merrill has been phenomenal. But I've been saying it all year, like for us to take that step, obviously we all got to do our part, but Evan Mobley stepping into being who he is a big reason why we believe we're going to continue to make this push. But I can say this to you, but we got to go out there and execute it. So, yeah.